Peggle. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferris64, the podcast all about video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a nice episode for you today. I got my monthly gaming pickup stuff here. We also have some games to talk about, some news, and some coming soon. But first, if you want to check out the complete 2024 pickup section compilation, that is on my YouTube channel. It's probably going to be like the second thing after this one, so if you just scroll back a little bit or go to my YouTube channel and go back a little bit, I've edited out every single segment that was me showing off what games I picked up that past week, and I put it all into one video. So it's about 2 hours long, one of those videos that kind of have on in the background as some noise, or if you like watching, not unboxing, but collection update videos, it's a nice compilation of that as well. And you can kind of see how it evolved through the first half a year of me doing it. Obviously, it's gotten a bit better. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and move into the first section of the podcast, which is, what have I picked up this past week? To start things off, a coworker of mine, he stopped at a GameStop that was closing, and they were selling these like pin sets for like a couple bucks, and he picked one up for me. So I got the Happy Holidays Mario and Friends pin set. There's a Mario, a Luigi, a Toad, a Peach, and a Yoshi, all in Snowman or Snowwoman form. So that was pretty nice of them, so thank you for that. Love that. Also, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I won a contest on Twitter, and it was for the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection coming out. Now, I didn't win the game, but I did win some cool stuff. First up is a 1 in 5,000 Golden Gaia, the Fierce Knight cards, 24-karat gold-plated card. I'm probably not going to be opening this because, collector in me. But, yeah, won that. And then I also won a plushie for the Time Wizard. Time Wizard. I can't really do a good Joey right now, but the Time Wizard, Yug. So, yeah, this is one of Joey's famous cards, gifted to him by Yugi at the beginning of the anime. But I love this little plush guy. He'll probably be hanging in the background for some time once I get this section all wrapped up here. Let's jump into the games that I picked up this past week. So I have a couple of new things. I have a couple of sales that I purchased things from, and I got a good mix here. So let's just get started with the PS1 games. The first thing I picked up was an imported version of Crash Bandicoot from Japan. This was about $12 on eBay, and I thought that was a pretty nice steal. American copies of this game go for about $60 to $70 now, which is kind of crazy in my mind. But there it is. There's the old Crashy Boo looking at Tawana. Yeah, I thought that would be a nice little addition to the collection. Just the Japanese writings on the side there too, just to kind of have. Plus, I think my copy of Crash Bandicoot that I have is scratched and it won't play. Or it will play, but it won't play levels. So it is nice to have this just in case I need to use it. But yeah, it was kind of mind-boggling to me when I looked online. The disc itself was like $50 to $60, and I was like, whoa. So I decided to pick up this version of the game because I thought it was just kind of cool. I also picked up some other PS1 games, including 007 Racing. Whoa. I don't know anything about this other than it's James Bond, and apparently you race in it. But there's that. And then also a game that was recommended to me by a streamer that I watch, NASCAR Rumble. This is a NASCAR-branded arcade racing experience. And I thought, it's only like $10. Might as well pick it up on eBay. So I thought that looked kind of cool. I looked at some gameplay. I thought it might be kind of fun to stream one day. We'll see. Okay, so I have a couple of PSP games here as well. First up is a sealed copy of Exit Speed Strategy Survival. So this was another one that was a pretty cheap PSP game, sealed. It was like $10. This is coming from Ubisoft, which is kind of interesting. This is like a side-scrolling tactics game, not tactics, but like tactical espionage game, I guess you could say. Kind of reminded me of like maybe a 2D Metal Gear Solid, so might check that out. And then I also picked up Dynasty Warriors on the PSP as well. I don't know how similar it is to the console version, but I'm sure it's right there. I'm sure it's pretty similar. So there you go. Next up, I have a PS3 game, and actually this game had its 10th or 15th anniversary recently, but that is MAG. I used to own this on the PS3, and I, like I said last year, I am kind of going through and trying to get back some of those games in my collection that I probably shouldn't have sold, or maybe I sold and I didn't. I mean, I don't regret selling MAG. It's an online multiplayer game that doesn't have a single player, but this was a game changer back in the day because it was like 256 players were able to battle each other. And that was crazy. It was a crazy time. I don't think I played a lot of it, but I played enough to be like, yeah, that was pretty cool. So there's that. Probably should have shown this one off first. Need for Speed Underground on the PS2. Need for Speed Underground on the PS2. Picked that up recently. Not too shabby. Looked pretty good. Obviously, the underground games are very popular. This one and Need for Speed Underground 2 are two of people's favorite Need for Speed games. All right, we picked up Donkey Kong Country Returns, as you may know. Last episode I talked about this a lot, so if you want to check that out, just go back to that episode. But I like the inside of the box is the map that you travel on. Oh yeah, a lot of times I don't have my Switch games inside the Switch boxes because I have a Switch game holder. Decided to keep it in this one. I don't know if I'll be booting this one back up anytime soon, but Donkey Kong Country Returns. All right, here are two things that I got on sale on Amazon that was a bit... It was just... I couldn't pass it up, even though I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition. This is a big box. So this was $20, and the other thing that I got was also $20. I thought that was a pretty good deal for some cool stuff inside this box. We got, oh man, the picture is so small. There's a pin set, some posters, a Worms guide, and a coin, a metal coin. Kind of hard to see there. But yeah, Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition. And then also in the same sale, I picked up Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, and this is like the deluxe edition or whatever. I don't think it really comes with too much crazy. I don't really see anything in on the box to tell me what's inside of it, but yeah, I just decided to pick that up as well. All right, I have two VR games here for the PSVR 1. I have been thinking of trying to collect as many physical PSVR games as I can because they actually there was actually quite a few that got physical editions, one of them being Battlezone on the PSVR 2. This is the European version, but it doesn't really matter. The consoles aren't region locked, so if you don't know this Battlezone game, I own this on Steam, and I played a bit of it on Steam. It's a very fun game. It essentially takes that old concept of like the wireframe Battlezone games and just kind of brings it into the, this century. And then I also picked up Iron Man VR, the game. Once again, I own this digitally. I believe PS Plus gave it away for free at one point. Not much on the box or anything like that, but I do like the inside with the Iron Man heart there. So, cool beans, cool beans. This was actually my most recent pickup, actually. This is Shadows Over Loathing. I bought this probably 4 or 5 months ago now, and it was on sale, physical edition. And I was like, I gotta pick that up. I've been waiting to try this game out because I really like the West of Loathing and the Kingdom of Loathing, which is a online experience, was also very fun. So Shadows over Loathing still sealed, of course. Some new pickups here. We got Sniper Elite Resistance. This game is in my PlayStation right now. I'm almost done with it. I'm going to be talking about it today. Not much special on the inside there. This is also available on Game Pass if you want to check it out there. But there you go, Sniper Elite Resistance and Dynasty Warriors Origins. I've talked about this game twice on the podcast now, so if you want to check out the kind of mini review and full review, you can check that out on the podcast. And here are just some games that I want to add to my collection. Dragon Age The Veilguard. This came out last year, and this was only $20 on Amazon, I said, or $25 on Amazon, free shipping. And I said, all right. I know that the reviews aren't stellar for this, but I mean, you never know. They could have updated by the time I play this. They could have updated, or maybe people were exaggerating. I don't know. It's hard to say at times. I also got Neon White physically. I own this digitally on 2 different storefronts now, but I decided to buy this physically because I'm trying to keep physical games alive. Whether it's just me and a few other people buying physical games, I'm trying to do it. Plus, it was one of my favorite games that year that it came out, so I felt like, yeah, I should probably, get this physical edition. It was on sale too for like $20, so I decided to pick that up. And then this is a bit of a weird one. This is Destruction All-Stars. The disc is loose in there, which I despise because this is one of those games that I don't want to open. This game had a very limited physical run back in the day because it was released on PlayStation Plus. This was like a day one PS5 PlayStation Plus game, and they were not originally going to do a physical edition for it, but they decided to print some physical versions of the game. So I wanted to pick this up. It just sucks that the disc is loose in there because I really don't want to open this because it is going to be a collector's. It's going to be it's going to be a nice collectible or a nice addition to the collection. All right, I have one more stack of games here, and I'll explain about that just in a moment. So I was in my basement, and I found a bunch of games that should have been added to my collection when I was gifted. We were gifted a Wii like a couple years ago, and these games have been in my basement for a while. So I'm going to show them off now because I found them all. First up, you got to get Wii Sports in there. Disc is a little is a bit in rough shape. Obviously, this is not the best way to store them. There is a case version of Wii Sports, so I might pick that up because this disc is pretty rough, but, what are you going to do? Second up, Super Mario Galaxy 2. This was in the collection downstairs. I totally forgot about these freaking games. It's complete in box, has the manual, has the Nintendo Club pamphlet. This manual is pretty beefy, I will say. It's a very beefy manual, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. But it's missing one of the clips for the paper. So, that's unfortunate, but in good shape. Good find. Also, Wii Music. Woo! Wii Music. This might be like a birthday stream kind of game. I like to do some of the wacky, weird ones. When I was a kid, I always wanted Wii Music, but I never got it. Now I know, it's kind of known as one of the worst Wii games, but I figure, add it to my backlog. It was in this pile of games, might as well. This is also a game from my childhood that I used to play a lot. This is Battalion Wars 2. I remember the Christmas that this came out during, it came out before this Christmas, but this was the only thing I had on my list. I said I want Battalion Wars 2 because I loved Battalion Wars 1 when I was a kid, And this game was on the Wii, and I said, "Yeah, hell yeah, that's all I want." So I opened this up on Christmas morning, and I played it all, as much as I could on Christmas Day. But I have very good memories of that. Also, we have two Wario games. We have Wario Land Shake It, which is already on my backlog because I believe this game was put with this stack of games after I had bought it. But obviously I did not remember that I did that. But here you are, Wario Land Shake It. Also, WarioWare Smooth Moves, another game that's already on my backlog list, but once again was probably put with those other games. This one is missing the manuals, which is unfortunate, but Smooth Moves has and probably will be the best WarioWare game of all time. There's not really much else you can say about that. This is another game that I had when I was a kid, Rayman Raving Rabbids. Very fun little adventure game. This is also where like the rabbits love was in full swing, because after this I think there was like a couple minigame collections and stuff like that came out. And then of course Rayman was not seen again until the latest Sparks of Hope, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope DLC. Namco Museum Remix. This is a remixed version of some classic games. And of course, you can play this with a classic controller or a Wiimote if you need to. But just kind of a cool one there. So, oh gosh, Yemmy, what happened here? I have 2 copies of Excitebike. One I've had for a while. The other one I bought recently, actually, because I didn't remember that I had this copy of Excitebike. I'm not Excitebike, Excite Truck. I apologize. Did I say Excitebike before? Excite Truck. So I have 2 copies of Excite Truck. I'm pretty sure they both have the manual, so I didn't even didn't even get that. But yeah. Oh, actually, this one has a different manual in it. Unless that's like the front page was ripped off. Okay, so something different at least. But yeah, I have 2 copies of Excite Truck. Excite Truck. Speaking of racing games, Mario Kart Wii. A lot of people really love Mario Kart Wii. I mean, I've obviously know why. The game is probably in the Wii that I got from this person. But there you go, Mario Kart Wii. And finally, I don't even know what this is. Game Party. Woo! What a explosive one to end this segment on, huh? Game Party, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa! Now that's epic. So yeah, that's that. I already showed off Wii Sports. Yeah, it was kind of crazy going to my basement and being like, what the hell? Where did all this come from, right? And well, now we know it came from the basement. And so yeah, I'll be adding these to my collection. I have a new shelf that I need to build to put my games on, which I'll probably show off once I finish that. It's a very big shelf, so it's gonna probably hold at least most of my retro game collection. I don't know about new games, but at least the retro game collection. But yeah, should be pretty cool. All right, let's move on to what have I been playing this past week. All right, what have I been playing this past week? So, Orcs Must Die Deathtrap was one of my most anticipated games for this year, and it's unfortunate that I come to you today to I have a couple complaints. And it's not like it's not that I don't like the game, because I feel like the gameplay is solid, the character selection is good, and the maps, even though there's not too many of them, they're at least decent. But my main issue is that I just really wanted another Orcs Must Die experience, which I'm sure a lot of people also wanted that. Orcs Must Die 3, very good game. The funny story behind Orcs Must Die 3 is that it was developed for the Stadia back when that was around, because Google bought them as a studio to make games specifically for the Stadia. They eventually brought that over to the various other platforms, but yeah, this Deathtrap game is one that was not made for Stadia. It was made for the new era of gaming. And along with that, they decided to include some new era gaming mechanics into it. To start off, they made it into a roguelite, which I was a bit wary of when we started playing. Like I'm not trying to be like super negative, but you should have just gone with level based levels. just the regular levels, because even though it's cool to see what you can do with these like relatively big levels, it all does start to boil down to the same tactic of like, okay, well, we blocked off this area last time, so let's just do that again, but change it a little bit because the rifts can move around sometimes on the map. So, the rift might be on the left side, but now it's on the right side this time you're playing it, or it might be at the top, but now it's at the bottom. It's one of those things that's like, yeah, it changes the tactic a little bit, but not enough, because you still want to funnel the enemies together as best as you can, so that they all get wiped out by you and your traps. So if you don't know the basis of Orcs Must Die, it's a wave-based defender game where you set traps to kill orcs, and the higher combo you get, that fills up your special meter. And your character is a they tend to be pretty overpowered. But yeah, essentially you have a character who has various abilities, and you just fight against waves of orcs. And in the other games, it was an unlimited wave count. So like in the third game, it was like, okay, once you got to level like 25, you got all three of the stars, we'll call them, on the level. You got 100. You got that level done, but you can go for as long as you can. Like you go for as long as you can. Whereas in this game, you have 6 waves. They don't really change too much. Like the first wave is usually just like regular orcs, and maybe you get like you get a couple armored orcs in there, maybe a drummer one. But the waves don't really change too much after that, because the second 2-6 wave just has every enemy that can possibly be put out onto that map. Like, sure, some maps do have a special enemy. Like the one map has a water elemental, which breaks into water minions. Another one has these like balloon orcs that kind of fly around and shoot you. But it's not enough, because the rest of the wave is always the same. There's an ice cyclops. There's a few drummer guys mixed in there. There's always a mountain troll and some regular trolls, and of course ogres and armored ogres. And all the waves seem to be the same. The same enemies come with each wave after that initial first wave. And that initial first wave isn't so special, because every map starts off with the weaker orcs coming out and testing your defenses. So the variety in the level selection is a detriment to this game, because even though the maps are designed nicely and smartly, I would be saying that if there was like 20 maps and these were 4 of the 20 maps. But no, this is 4 of 4 maps that at least I've played so far, and I have not seen any variation as we go into the second set of levels. Because the game's set up in this way, where you beat 2 levels and you do a boss. And once you beat that boss, you go on to the next one. You have to beat 3 levels in a row plus the boss. And it kind of just goes from there. And I have not seen any variation in the levels at all. It's always the same 3 levels, and then the boss level is its own unique level. So that's 4 maps in the entire game. And with the lack of variety in the wave structure, the lack of variety in what traps you're going to want to use, the lack of variety in placing your barricades to funnel the enemies around the map, it just becomes a really monotonous grind, especially because the upgrades for the game cost so much. You make about 100 or so skulls every level, right? Once you beat the level, you get about 100 or so skulls. And of course, you can use like upgrades. It's a roguelite, so you get these upgrades every so often that can improve things for that run only. So you can get more, but for the most part, you're probably going to be getting about 100 to 150 skulls on that first wave. And then what you do is you gamble your skulls to move on. So you gamble like 50 skulls or whatever the count is. I never really paid attention, but essentially you gamble your skulls and go to the next one. If you win that one, then okay, your score is like doubled. You get like 200 and something. Then you get like 300 and something. But the upgrades, they do start out cheap. But the skill point stuff, that skyrockets really quickly. Upgrading your traps, it starts at like 10, 30, and then it skyrockets. Each trap you have to pay its own price for. Same thing with trap upgrades. It starts out relatively cheap, and then it just skyrockets after you get like the third upgrade. And this in my mind, this just tells me this is just a unimaginable grind that I was not expecting to have in an Orcs Must Die game. In Orcs Must Die 3, you upgraded your traps by using those skulls that you get from beating the various levels. And as long as you get all, like, in the regular levels, it's like 5 skulls per, depending on how far you get into the waves. And then there's a bonus skull for not losing any rift points. Because you get like 20 or so at the start of it, and each orc counts as one. Some count more because they're bigger. But essentially, that was a great way to do that because the upgrades kind of forced you to play the game better to earn the skulls, and each upgrade only cost 1 skull. I think it got up to 4 skulls when you get to the end of it, but still, it was very affordable, and it allowed you to really hone in on what you wanted to do and get what you wanted to do done so that you can, of course, earn more skulls. And the Unless mode also allowed you to earn skulls as well. So it was all around like a nice way to kind of keep you progressing through the game, maybe going back and replaying some to get the skulls you missed. But you're able to slowly but surely upgrade your character. Whereas with Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, I don't feel like it's like a slow. I'm sorry, I don't feel like it's a relatively fast upgrade system. It feels very slow because let's say you get to round 4 and you beat the boss and you get like 400 skulls from that, right? You're pretty much from one upgrade already buying like if you've already bought like the smaller things, each upgrade is going to cost you about 400 skulls in the end. And it's like, wow, okay, so I go through 4 levels to get 1 upgrade, and I'm thinking about this in the future. We haven't gotten there yet, but I'm thinking about that in the future where it's like, okay, I go through 4 levels to get 1 upgrade. That's kind of crazy. There, you can equip like 7, 8 traps on your character at the same time. Imagine leveling up 8 traps to max level. That's an astronomical number of skulls there. Not to mention that your skill tree also has special skills for each character. So there's about 6 or so characters in the game, plus a 7th bonus character. So upgrading your character also costs you more skulls than just the base skills for all the characters. So this whole thing is me trying to explain to you why I'm not super convinced that this is going to be a long-lasting game in my gaming repertoire, like Orcs Must Die 3 was, like Orcs Must Die 2 was. Orcs Must Die 2 and 3, Greedy and I played those a lot. We were playing Orcs Must Die 3 up until the day before Orcs Must Die Deathtrap came out. Even though, Orcs Must Die 3 can still get a bit monotonous, it took a long time for it to get that way because we were upgrading and getting levels done and stuff like that, and there was DLC coming out. So it wasn't really a monotonous grind because it felt more natural to progress. Whereas with Deathtrap, it is very much a grind, and they have definitely structured it in a way where it's like, okay, you can't just beat this game by going through it like you would in Orcs Must Die 3. You have to really focus on earning skulls, losing, going back into it, earning more skulls, earn, and it's just it's not meshing with me fully. Like, it's still fun because the gameplay's great. I love playing with my friends. We have good strategies for these types of things, and the game seems to run fine. I mean, it looks great. The graphics look better than ever before. The orcs are very detailed, and the new orcs the new enemy types that they added in are nice. And the traps, there's some unique traps for this game in there as well, which have been helping. But it's once you go through the same maps, the same 4 maps, 5 to 6 times, you start to get bored. Because it's the same maps, and you can actually select the same map for each of those levels that I was talking about, where you have to defeat like 3 and then go to the boss, right? So you could just pick the docks every single time and have the same map 3 out of 4 times, because the 4th one is a special boss map. So that can also that could also make the game feel very monotonous if you just choose the same map over and over again because you have a good strategy on that map. I think that they missed the mark with this one. I know that they want to incorporate some newer gameplay elements, a new modern, like, okay, let's switch this up. And I was debating with Greedy Waffles if this was a spin-off game when it came out. And now I'm leaning towards, like, yeah, I kind of agree. This does feel like a spin-off game because it is very gimmicky. It's got the roguelite elements in there. It's got this grindy upgrade system. It's not numbered, much like Unchained wasn't numbered, but I felt like Unchained felt like more of a full package than this game. Like, Unchained had levels to go through, it had multiple DLC drops and multiple character drops. It was a fully fleshed out game with an endless mode, with an online community that was pretty strong up until the end. And I would gladly have them reactivate the servers for Orcs Must Die Unchained, then put out Deathtrap at this point. I enjoyed Orcs Must Die Unchained so much that we were playing that game up until the day that it died. And I was pretty damn close to getting the platinum trophy on that one too. There was one pretty obscene one of spending like 10 million coins or 100 million coins on traps or something like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you had a winning formula with Orcs Must Die Unchained, and that game. Oh, here's the big twist. Orcs Must Die Unchained had a roguelite element to it. Every time you played a level, you would level up your character with random traits, and you could level up your character like that inside the level itself. So the skill tree was baked into the game. So the game would start each level with the weaker orcs coming out, and you would kill them, and between the waves you would level up your character, or as the wave was going you would level up your character and get new upgrades for your character. And there were so many different characters to use. Sure, you had to unlock a lot of them with like random chests and stuff like that. That aspect obviously hasn't aged well, but the rest of the game was really good, really smartly designed, and it was a roguelite. How did they mess it up so much in Deathtrap? I can't really tell you that, but it's just one of those things that it just irks me, because this could have been a great game. This could have been their return, and like they're putting it on Game Pass too, so a lot of people can play this game. And then the people play the game hearing that Orcs Must Die is a great series, and they play this, and I'm guessing that most of them are disappointed because there's not much going on here. So I don't know if this is a roundabout way of saying it, but yeah, I mean, just go with Orcs Must Die 3 right now. If you don't have friends to play Orcs Must Die Deathtrap with, it's kind of impossible. Just Greedy Waffles and I playing together as a two people group, it gets really challenging very quickly, because like I said, the second wave already is introducing like the biggest, baddest guys that can be in the thing. And also they send out like these flying troops too, which can fly over your barricades. So if you're a single person and you're on the other side of the map and another door is opening up and it releases flyers, well, now you got to try and get all the way back over to the other side of the map while also being worried about what's on the left side of the map, right? So I feel like this game, yes, it was based around the idea of, okay, you need 4 people in your party. You need more than one person in your party to play this. We'll give you a single-player mode, which is just the same thing, but it's not going to be as fulfilling, because you'll probably end up losing because of the amount of enemies, one, that they throw at you, 2, the limited number of barricades that you can have, and 3, sometimes the threads, the random roguelike element, will not go your way, and you'll end up getting shit picks for that. So there's so much that can go wrong, and the more people you have, the more chances of getting better threads, better trap placement, more barricades. It's just so ridiculous. Like, the main thing that I feel like they really missed the mark with was having a set number of barricades that you can put on the map at one time. So when you're solo, you can place like 15 or so. When you're in a duo, you can place like 10 each, at 10 each for each person, and it kind of goes from there. And this, I feel like, is a detriment to this game in general, because the areas are so massive, they're so wide, and there's like so many entrance points for the orcs. And all those entrance points, they're usually pretty wide open areas that they're entering from. And like, to be able to corral them even a little bit with like barricades or something would be nice, but they don't give you that option. They give you 10 barricades per person, so you better place those barricades in the best spots possible to make sure that they can't just run straight to your rift or you're done. And I so would have liked to see an unlimited barricade system, but having them be pricey, than having a limited barricade system, but having them be free. You know what I'm saying? So even though there are positives with this game, right now at this point, it is still fun, but that already, after only a week of playing the game, that monotony is starting to sink in, and it's really dragging the experience down for me. If they just had a couple more maps, no. If they just did this game like they made every other Orcs Must Die game, with a level-based system, you go from one level to the next one, design them very meticulously, and making sure that they are all pretty different, with different enemy configurations and different ways to set up your traps and barricades, I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you. If this was just a regular Orcs Must Die game, and they made levels, and they blah, 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 I would be praising this game so much, because that's all they needed to do, is just make a new game just a little bit better than the last one. The graphics, and they already have those building blocks, because the graphics are great, the character selection is good, and the new orcs are fun to kill for the first, 10 times you do it, and then, it starts to become monotonous. So that is the main gist of why I'm a bit disappointed with this game. And even though I still have fun while playing it, obviously, it's not like I'm dead inside. I can't have fun playing something that I'm critical of. But it's just starting to weigh on me just how badly I just want an Orcs Must Die 4. I just want that level-based designs. I just want that endless mode. I just want everything, all the good stuff from this game, just throw that into a level-based Orcs Must Die game, and you're golden. And originally, when Deathtrap was being showed off, I was like, oh, they're making it like Unchained. Oh, that's going to be so cool. But in the end, it's not like Unchained at all. It's almost the inverse of it, where instead of upgrading your character with every level, you upgrade your, you have those random strands that come into the roguelike gameplay, and then you upgrade everything with the big grind in the home base. And in Unchained, it was very much like during the game you upgraded stuff, and then afterwards you would buy the loot chest, to try and unlock a new character or new skins. And then there was also, of course, you could upgrade the traps. Oh, actually, yeah, you could upgrade the traps in that game too. But it's just one of those things that's it's a bit disappointing. I don't want to say very disappointing, because the game is still good, and I'm not trying to deter anyone from playing the game, because I think that the game is still a baseline. You play a couple of rounds, you're gonna have fun with it, right? But it's if you're like me and Greedy, who is trying to get through the entire campaign for it, and play through it in the way that we know how to play an Orcs Must Die game, it just becomes a grind. It becomes a grind, and it becomes monotonous, because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And I think they designed this game to, you play a few rounds, you play one round of 4, and then, you drop it for the day, and you come back the next day, which I think is a poor decision if that really is how they wanted to design this game. But all right, Sniper Elite Resistance is the next game on my list out of 3. I'm almost done with this. I have 2 levels left, including the one that I'm playing. So I technically only have 1 level left, but I have 2 levels left right now. So I'll probably get that done the day that I'm recording this. And this is another game that I'm kind of disappointed with. And I wanted this game to be good. I really did. I went into this game very positively. The first 2 levels were awesome. They did a great job with them. And then the rest of the levels were just kind of okay, all right. I think the one thing that this game is missing, much like Orcs Must Die Deathtrap, is the last game, Sniper Elite 5 and 4, had this each level was this massive area that you covered, with plenty of opportunities to sound mask and plenty of opportunities to just snipe enemies and just have fun with that. And the first level in this game, where you destroy the dam, had that. You could stay at the start of that level and just shoot all the enemies on the dam, and there's some enemies off to the side that you could also kill. And then you kind of made your way through the level. They obviously repopulated a little bit, because that would be too easy. So they obviously repopulate the level a little bit, and then you start moving forward. But that initial sniping section felt really good. And they don't really do that in this game, where they have a position that you can snipe from, where there's a sound masking opportunity, and be able to see a large part of the map. They just don't do that. And I don't know what happened, but something messed up during the development, because this game is glitchy as hell. I'm playing the PS5 version, and I don't know if this happens on the other version of the game, but sometimes, even if I'm sound masking, even if I'm doing something silently, like a melee kill, which is supposed to be the most quiet thing in the game, an enemy in the room over, or a couple rooms over, or a little bit away from the guy that I killed, will hear the noise and come and investigate. And obviously, I don't have time to hide the body, so I just get caught, and then I have to restart. Or, I have to battle my way through it. The same thing happens with sound masking. Sometimes I will be completely sound masked, and I will snipe a guy. There will be no one around him, but the enemy that's, a couple fucking feet away, not feet, but yards away, I don't know how. They're away. They're away enough that I feel like they shouldn't hear anything. They shouldn't see anything. They turn around and go, huh? And they start running over. They also did this really dumb thing with the sound masking mechanic, where there's generators around, much like the other games, that you kind of screw around with, and they start making popping noises that sound like gunshots. And yeah, usually an enemy would come over and investigate. But the problem that I'm having is, like, the one enemy will come over and investigate, I'll kill him, and then all of a sudden another enemy will just kind of appear out of nowhere and come around the corner and be like, oh, what's going on? And if I kill that guy, then another enemy will randomly become yellow and come over and try and see what's going on with the sound masking, the generator. And it's just so confusing, because in the other games, like, sure, like I said, an enemy would come over, maybe at most two would come over to check out the noise, and you can deal with them. But this game, it just seems to be an unending gauntlet of, if any enemy is nearby when you do the sound masking thing, they will all be notified of the sound mask. And the more you pick off as they come and try to, determine what the sound masking thing is, the more they get alerted, and it's almost like a domino effect. The same thing for, like, pistol. Like, I have a silenced pistol on my character, which most people do, and I'll do like a silent pistol kill, and the guy in the next room will hear the noise. Now I'm like, okay, I would get that the guy would hear the noise if he was, like, right next to the other dude. Like, obviously a silenced pistol still makes noise in the end, but why is it traveling through walls? Why is the sound, like, it's so weird. Also, there's times where I will destroy a tank or something, and no one around will hear it. Or maybe a guy who, like, there was one time I destroyed a door that was, like, in an underground facility, and the guy, like, 3 levels up heard the blast, and he was the only one notified. So he started his little loop of running down the stairs. I was long gone by the point that he got down there, but it was just a very strange thing where it's like, there's enemies in every area around me, but the guy who's, like, 3 floors above me heard the noise? Very strange. So I feel like, even though the sniping mechanics are very good in this game, the weapon choice is actually also very good in this game. I was a bit worried because, obviously, you needed the Car 98 was locked behind a pre-order bonus, right? I was kind of worried that they were just going to put the same weapons as the other Sniper Elite games. No, they actually have a very good selection of weapons that you don't normally see in these games. A lot of them are French-based, which is nice because you are helping the French resistance. So, you should have some French weaponry on you. So, there's a couple of weapons that are French-related that you haven't really seen. Also, some submachine guns that are French-made. And then, of course, there's still, like, your M1 Garens, and there's a Mosin Nagant, which I'm a bit like, okay, why are we still putting in Mosin Nagant? I mean, I understand that it's a very popular gun in the World War II setting, but why would the Mosin Nagant be in this scenario? I mean, he's a resistance fighter who's scrapping weapons off the ground and going through these areas. So it's just a bit weird. I feel like I don't know what they could have done, but I just feel like it's a bit weird to see, like, the Mosin Nagant and stuff like that. Like, I understand the Lee Enfield being there. Obviously you're a British operative, so you would maybe you'd be supplied with one. But I don't know. But I think the customization for the weapons is also nice as well. The more you use a weapon, the more obviously you unlock with it. And then there's also these benches you find around the levels that can unlock special upgrades for the weapons too, which is nice. There's a lot of different ammo types, from armor piercing to subsonic to kind of like almost silent ones as well. So there's a lot of variety there. There's a lot of various equipables you can use, like bottle throwing, Molotov cocktails. Obviously, you have your bandages and your med kits, grenades, teller mines, which are landmines, decoys and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff there too. That's good. Like, once again, I'm not saying like this is a bad game, but it's just a bit disappointing because the game as a whole it's a bit glitchy. It's short. There's 9 levels in this game, and they're not really that long either. Like, you can get through a level in maybe 30 minutes, which I know is, I guess, technically a bit long for single player levels, but still, if you don't factor in like having to reload because you messed up or dying, I would think that a seasoned veteran of the Sniper Elite series could probably get through these levels in like 15 minutes or less. And that's not even to also put on top of that there's an invasion system in this game where an enemy player can come and mess up your run. So that can also add time to the level as well, but it's artificial time because they invade your game. I actually had to turn that off, and I will tell you why. It's because the players who invade your game, they're a bit toxic at times. When the idea of the enemy invasion was brought forth to me in the last game, it seemed like a lot of people were just like, okay, it's an enemy sniper and they're sniping you. But in this game, for some reason, maybe it's because there's more people playing it because it's on Game Pass. I don't know. But there's a lot of people who like bum rush you, and they sneak around with a submachine gun, and they know that you're sneaking around with probably a silenced pistol or something like that, or maybe you're focused on something else while they're sneaking around. But they seem to be kind of toxic in the game, and they just I feel like they should give you more leeway between when someone can invade after the last invasion, because win or lose, it felt like only a minute passed before I was invaded again. Or if I had to reload because I died, I would be invaded again almost immediately. And I was getting very annoyed because I was on this level where it was like you were prepping the area for the D-Day landing. It was raining out, and it was a cool design level. Like, I enjoyed the level in general, but I kept getting stuck because I kept getting invaded over and over and over and over again, and obviously you can't kill everyone, so it's one of those things where it's like you're dealing with the enemies and you're dealing with that enemy player, and I was just getting very frustrated because like I just don't care. Like, it's a cool idea to have an invasion system, it works, but does it work too well? Maybe, or maybe it's just the reset on it is too short. I don't know. I was just getting very annoyed, so I decided to turn that off, which it's nice that you can turn it off. But yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like I cannot keep fucking getting invaded. It was so annoying. It was every fucking minute after I reloaded or killed an enemy that I would get invaded again. I was very annoyed. As you can tell. The story of the game is kind of the same as most Sniper Elites. You start off and you're trying to find some information, documents, stuff like that. Then you find out that there's a super weapon. You gotta go destroy the super weapon. Kind of the same as most Sniper Elite games. I think that Sniper Elite 3 is still my favorite in the series. I like the North Africa setting the best. I like the level design the best. I thought it was a nice, decently long campaign. And I also think that they did a good job with like the enemy AI and stuff like that. I feel like this game, the enemy AI is so broken at times, it's not even funny. An enemy will see a dead body and they'll begin a search in the area, but they won't move anywhere, and then they'll randomly just be like, okay, that was false alarm, must have been the wind, right? It's just very strange. Like, you feel like that if they see a body, they would actually search the area, but they usually don't. There's also other times where, like, I don't even know how to describe this, but like an enemy will like hear the gunshot, and like three of them, like let's say 3 of them will hear the gunshot, and it'll kind of mark you on the map with a little triangle on your mini map in yellow or red, depending on if they see you or not. And I felt like no matter where I moved to, no matter how far I moved, like the enemies kind of kept always moving towards my position, no matter what. Even if I was hiding in tall grass, that one enemy who I was pretty far away from where I initially shot. But, like, the one enemy just, la-di-da, I'm randomly walking into this grass. Like, what? I know that's not your pathing. I've seen the pathing in this game. They path around the grass. Okay? Don't give me that shit. So, anyway, I'm leaning towards a 3 out of 5 on this one. It's decent, but it's got a lot of problems, and I was hoping that it would just improve upon Sniper Elite 5, which had a nice, like, the levels were very twisty and windy, and there was like an open area that you would go to, and it was a bit more condensed at times, but they also had those moments where you could just sit back and relax and just snipe enemies left and right. And this game, I just feel like it's a very fractured experience. It doesn't really, it doesn't really feel as good as the other Sniper Elite games. The level design is not as tight as I would like. And I just, yeah, I just feel like it's a bit too glitchy as well. That really weighs on the experience because, the sniping still feels good, and I do like that they obviously always enhance that X-ray vision when you shoot an enemy. They always seem to be improving that by adding more detail or adding more realism to it. And I think that the invasion feature is nice. It just needs to be fine-tuned a bit. And the multiplayer modes are fun. Like, there's one mode where it's like a wave defender. You can team up with other people and defend waves of enemies. It's kind of fun. There's also PvP modes, which I probably will not touch at all. But yeah, I mean, like, for the most part, the core Sniper Elite mechanics are good. It's just they messed up in a few places, like the AI, the glitchiness, and the level design. I just feel like it's just not there. So I think I'm leaning towards a 3 out of 5. I probably won't talk about this game again because I'm going to finish it today, most likely, and move on from it. But I mean, if you're a fan of Sniper Elite, it'll probably still be some good fun for you. And I am a fan of Sniper Elite. I've been playing since the third game. But yeah, this one just was not it for me. And we'll see what they do next. I mean, I've already made the suggestion last episode where it's like, maybe you could give us, a different era of war, like World War One. I think a World War One sniping game would be kind of cool. Less opportunities to mask your sound. More open battlefields, probably. Stuff like that. I might be kind of cool. Maybe add a bit more to the story. Maybe improve the graphics a bit more because this game does look very dated already. I just think that they tried to make the lighting better in the game, but by doing that, it kind of showed the flaws in the graphics. Like, there's times where I get flickering particles, or like the hair on my character is just absurdly bright for no reason, or something like that. So there's some fine tuning that definitely needs to be done with this series and with this game in general. I don't think that they will do it for this game, but I think if they continue with the series and they do a Sniper Elite 6, I'll be there for it, and I'll play it because I like the series. But you can't make it like this. You need to be improving. And I think the first place to improve is the enemy AI and the sound masking stuff, which is a bit annoying in this game because the enemies just came all around to try and stop the sound mask, and it made it so that I was still battling in close quarters, even though I wanted to snipe. And the only times I really got to, get that adrenaline of sniping over and over and over again was in that first level. And I think there's another level where you go back to the dam and it gives you a similar starting position. The rest of the game, there's too many enemies around to do something like that. Or if you eliminate them all and then start sniping, you could, I suppose, but it's a bit risky. So that's Sniper Elite Resistance. Pick it up at your discretion. Get it on Game Pass. And finally, for this section, Tyrant's Realm is the other game that I played this past week. This one came out on like Tuesday. Actually, no, it came out a couple weeks ago, but I decided to pick it up because it was on sale. And it also looked really good. This is a pretty original one. This is a Souls-like combined with a roguelite, which could be a good idea. And for the most part, it is a good idea, but I think the execution is a bit off on this one. The game feels way too easy because, much like most Souls-like games, the regular enemies aren't going to give you too much trouble, right? You can learn their patterns, you can block and parry and counterattack. It's not really that tough. The bosses do tend to be more difficult, but it's still a little bit easy. And the reason for that is because they base it around like a PS1 aesthetic, which means that the enemies do have a limited move pool. They are kind of stiff when they're doing their attacks, so you can dodge out of the way or just walk out of the way pretty easily. And there does seem to be a bit of like a, just like a repetitive nature to what they do. They always kind of do the same moves over and over and over again. Then, randomly I'll do my other move that I have that I just decided to pull out for this one. And then we'll go back to the same move over and over again. I got through a run of this game very quickly. It took me like two attempts, which is very low. I was expecting it to take more attempts or more upgrades, but nope. They kind of just they kind of just made the game way too easy. I know that there's more difficulty modes. I got through the first 2 difficulty modes in probably about 5 attempts, 2 for the first run, 3 for the second run. And even though it did get more difficult in the second run, it was still like not there. And then the third run just seemed a bit punishing to me. Like it was kind of like a jump in difficulty, which I didn't really appreciate. But that's not to say that the game isn't worth playing. I think the PS1 aesthetic works really well for this, and the boss designs are really good. Even though they do a lot of the same moves over and over again, I think the designs themselves are really nice. There's this one guy who's like an old man with a crossbow, and you start off the boss battle by having to do like a little maze around his watchtower while he tries to shoot you. And then you start battling him, and he has a whole different move set. There was also a duo fight that was like a dwarf on top of like a centaur or something like that. Not a centaur, a minotaur. And every so often the dwarf would heal the minotaur. So you need to defeat the dwarf guy first, which was a bit harder to do. But it was a decent boss fight. The final boss was also a bit underwhelming. He had a lot of magic attacks, but they were very slow windups, and they were easy to dodge. So I don't think I even used 1 health flask in that. But what are you gonna do? But I like the game has a nice soundtrack. The PS1 aesthetic is great for this one. I think that a lot of people will enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed it myself, but it was a bit of a walk in the park, really. And even though they got a nice weapon variety in there, using a spear is really the one thing that you want to use in a game like this, because the enemies are a bit slower, and like I said, they're also a bit rigid, so they aren't going to be really tracking you as they do their attacks. They kind of just do their attack, and you can kind of go around them and start poking them, or you can take them out from longer ranges. But unlike, it has those mechanics of like a modern day Souls-like, but it has the aesthetic and enemy mechanics of like an early PS1 game. So it kind of clashes and makes the game a bit too easy. Like I said, though, on the higher difficulties, obviously it does become a challenge, but artificially increasing that challenge, it's a bit of a cheat. It's cheating. But what you gonna do? I thought I was gonna get back to this game and play through some more, but I have too much to play. 1 and 2, I just wasn't like super invested in it. Like I gave it a positive score. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. But it's not one of those games that I think I'm gonna go back to anytime soon. I think it was kind of like a one and done type thing. I played it for an afternoon, had a decent time with it, but ended up just kind of being like, yeah, it's just not. It doesn't have staying power for me. So there you go. If you want to check that out, it's on Steam. It's like $10. I think it's worth the price, especially because you will get a lot of replay value in it if you really like it. I was okay. I thought it was fine. Okay, let's move on to what's in the news. Who could have seen this coming? MultiVersus is shutting down its online modes on May 30th. That is at the end of Season 5. So Season 5 is going to be the final season for the game. That starts on February 4th, and it ends on the 30th of May. So after that, players will be able to enjoy the game offline, but you won't be able to add it to your account if you haven't already. And you won't be able to play online with your friends anymore, so you have to play against the dog water AI. So this came as a bit of a surprise. I woke up that morning and all of a sudden it was like, hey, MultiVersus, we're shutting down. But it also wasn't that big of a surprise because, as you know from my review of the game last year and my rating on GG and all that different stuff, I was not a fan of this re-released full version of the game. The single player mode was ass. The AI is just incompetent. The game felt slower in a lot of ways. I don't know what they did, but the game felt slower to me. They had a great idea here. They had a Smash Brothers contender, something to stand up with the Smash Brothers to say, hey, this is a great hero brawler game. But they fucked it up. They really did. And I mean, there's no other way for me to say this. They fucked this game up. It was fun. It was well balanced. It was decent. The season pass was affordable. And you unlocked lots of cool cosmetics with that and blah, 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 blah. And then they released the full version of the game. They screwed up the combat system. They added way too much grinding elements to this game. They added way too many currencies to this game. that were all pretty expensive, or that took a while to get them. They added all these new characters into the game that I mean, even though some of them were cool, but it's just like, why would I want to grind hours upon hours of this game just to unlock a new character that probably should have just been there from the beginning or whatever. I think someone put the math together. To get one character, you need to grind for like 150 hours doing the single player modes and stuff like that. I think that's what they said, which is pretty absurd for those new characters. But yeah, they fucked it up. They really did. This is one of the most disappointing relaunches I've ever seen. That year long that they took off just really screwed this game. This game doesn't have a physical edition, so it's game preservation also going to be pretty hard to do for this one. Just everything going against this. Everything's going against this, and everything did go against it, obviously. I think right now the peak number of players is like 200 something. I think they had 150 players at one time at one point if you look at the Steam metrics. But that was before its official launch. Like it had that boom of like people playing it, and then they went offline. So there's like a less than one person playing. And then obviously when they released the game officially, it boom back up to like 100,000 players. But then you can kind of see it steadily going down as more seasons came out, more grinding came into effect, and only the most dedicated players were left playing the game at the end, which is that like 200-ish players that we see right now. So maybe it'll get another bump as Season 5 begins, but I kind of doubt it at this point. I think everyone's kind of moved on from this game, whether because they were disappointed with it or just bored with it, whatever. But I mean, look, I think there can be a game like this that does well. This game could have done well, but they messed it up. They fucked it up, and what else can you say? Nothing, really. They have not released the details of what Season 5 is going to bring with it, but I do expect, maybe the last few WB characters that people were asking for. So I guess we'll see, what those characters will be at a later date. Yeah, I didn't miss it because I just scrolled through Google for a few minutes and there was nothing for the contents of Season 5. So, all right, we got some Sony news here. They have issued a DMCA takedown against the Bloodborne 60 FPS mod. If you don't recall, about 4 years ago, the mod creator said that if Sony doesn't release a 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne, I'm releasing my own mod for the game. Right now, or in the coming week, and he did. He released that patch, and a lot of people have been enjoying Bloodborne at 60 FPS on their consoles or on the unofficial PC version. So Sony has officially filed the DMCA takedown of the mod, which originally released on February 21st, 2021. The creator of the patch, Lance McDonald, at ManFightDragon on Twitter, said this. He said, I created the released a patch for Bloodborne, which makes the game run at 60 FPS. Today I received a DMCA takedown notification on behalf of Sony Entertainment, asking that I remove links to the patch I posted on the internet, so I've done that now. Obviously, you don't want to fight a legal battle with PlayStation, and a lot of these modding, communities and people in the mod community know, like, hey, we're kind of on borrowed time if the studio does find out, or if they do have a problem with what we're making, then yeah, we're kind of on borrowed time here because it isn't their property technically. Like, even though you buy the game and whatever, it's still not there's still legal stuff to go through. So it's good that he just kind of immediately took it down to just kind of get away from the legal problems there. But what does this mean? Because the Bloodborne's anniversary is coming up in March. It's its 10th anniversary, and people are wondering, like, okay, well, are we getting a 60 FPS patch or maybe a Bloodborne remaster or something like that for the PS5, a PS5 version of the game that's adding 60 FPS that you can upgrade to? It's hard to say. I mean, there's obviously been rumors about Bloodborne for a long time at this point. Like, I feel like it's been at least 5 or 6 years now that that every so often you'll get a little bit like, during the state of play, there might be a Bloodborne remaster, or, Bloodborne's coming back with a PS5 version, and then nothing happens. So maybe for the 10th anniversary here, we'll see something. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. Maybe we'll see that 60 FPS patch, or maybe a new version of Bloodborne. I would say that Sony is sitting on a pile of money right now, because I think most people who have played Bloodborne, even if they're not fans of Souls-like games, love Bloodborne. I started out not liking, like, here's some lore. I started out not liking Bloodborne. This is before I was into Souls-like games, before I started playing those kind of games. I had never played a Dark Souls. I had never played I didn't play Dark Souls 3, blah, blah, blah. All those games. But all it takes is one. All it takes is one game for you to play and enjoy to kind of get you hooked. And Bloodborne was that game. I started the game. I didn't like it. I said, okay, I'm done. Come back to it about a year later. Played through the whole thing with my friend. Played through the whole thing again with Greedy Waffles. Fell in love with it. Fell in love with the genre. Played Dark Souls 3 after that. Dark Souls 1. Tried Sekiro. Wasn't really into that when I played that. But, then I started diving into other Souls-like games, like your Lords of the Fallen and stuff like that. So I really started to dive into the series. And like I said, it only takes one. It takes one game in a genre to get you interested in it. And then you might be hooked on it. Obviously, Bloodborne is a bit different from the other some FromSoft games. It has a parry system where you use a gun. It doesn't really have a dodge roll. It can have you have like a sidestep in there, which also works pretty well. Of course, there's the visceral attacks where you just kind of charge attack from behind and then punch someone up the gut when they get staggered. There's a lot to love about this game, and the aesthetics are a whole different part of it too. So if we do see a Bloodborne remake or something coming out for the PS5, that would be great. I would love that. I'm sure a lot of people would buy that because, people want to play this game with that 60 FPS on it. And a lot of people aren't willing, like myself, to download mods for this type of thing. They just kind of, it's so much easier to just buy the game again for another $60, right? So I think that Sony really is sitting on a lump of money right now that for whatever reason they are not interested in obtaining, but whatever. Also in Sony news, the PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 themes for the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, they are going to be taken down from the PlayStation Store. They actually already are taken down from the PlayStation Store, so you can't use them anymore. But they are not going away permanently. PlayStation came out on Twitter and said, "Thank you for the fantastic response for the classic PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PS3, and PS4 limited time console themes, which will be leaving tomorrow. Due to the positive response for these 4 themes, we are doing some work behind the scenes to bring these special designs back in the months ahead." So I don't know if there was like some timed thing in the back end that they couldn't reverse or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why they couldn't just, I don't know why they couldn't just keep this up. It seems it's a bit weird in my opinion. But it is nice that they do plan to bring it back. Now, are they going to bring it back as a paid thing, like a paid bundle, a paid theme? That would be kind of shady, kind of shitty. But it is nice that they are planning on bringing it back in the next coming months. Maybe they'll just kind of re-up it with the next firmware update. It's hard to say. And yeah, a lot of people, including myself, really enjoyed this. I mean, having the PS1 startup sound happen when you turn on your PS5 or the PS2 startup sound, or just have that, very chill theme of the PS3 main menu going on in the background. Even the PS4 aesthetic is very nice too. And I do enjoy the PS5s as well. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's not much beating that PS1 startup sound. The PS2 the PS3's like background noise. All that stuff. It's all just keep it permanently. I don't know why they had to take it down in the first place, but it's nice that enough people mentioned hey, we really love this, so you should probably keep it. And Sony is actually listening to that. So, like I said, hopefully with the next firmware update, they'll put these back in the in the theme section or wherever you did this. I forget kind of where, but hopefully they bring them back and allow people to use them permanently. One last thing for Sony today. Sony is going to mostly drop PS4 games from the PlayStation Plus service starting on January 2026. So we have a whole nother year of PlayStation 4 games coming to the service for the Essentials tier, and I guess the Premium tier as well, I suppose. Yeah, this comes as a bit of a surprise because they've been supporting the PS4 throughout the entirety of the PS5's lifespan. A lot of people still have a PS4 and haven't updated to a PS5. A lot of games are coming out and they still have that dual capability of being a PS4 or a PS5 game. So
Maybe they're expecting in 2026 for more stuff to shift over to just next gen stuff, which is crazy that I'm still saying next gen because both these, both the Xbox One and the PS4 are still prominent in the gaming world right now. It's just kind of weird to still keep saying next gen, but I think that's what Sony is expecting. There's already games out there that are planning on not coming to the Xbox One and the PS4, so maybe they're kind of trying to push that even more by being like, well, you can get your game on PlayStation Plus, but we will not do a PS4 version anymore, so maybe that'll make the developers also just go with the PS5 version. I don't think that there's any way to not marry, not to. Okay, let me rephrase this. I don't think there's any way to divorce the PS4 and PS5 right now. They are just too stuck together at this point, especially with how the PS5 can play PS4 games, and the PS4 is getting a lot of PS5 games. There's not really that many PS5 exclusives that aren't on the PS4, so it's one of those things where it's like it's going to be very hard to shift into that. And at this point, I feel like once the PS6 or whatever they're going to call it is going to come around, I feel like they may just do the okay, only PS6 games work on the PS6. I think that's kind of where we're going because Sony is kind of seeing right now that like yeah, sales are kind of hampered because we've had these two different consoles competing against each other this whole fucking generation. But that's not to say that it couldn't work. I mean, look at the Wii and the Wii. Well, actually, no, that's a bad. Actually, no. But it can work. Like I feel like the Switch and Switch 2 is going to work very well being a partnered console because there's going to be Switch 2 games. They've already said this that there's going to be Switch 2 games that are just Switch 2 games, and that kind of tells me that most first party Nintendo games are now going to be just Switch 2 games. They maybe during the beginning months or so of the lifespan will have a dual release of both a Switch and a Switch 2 game. We already have confirmation that Switch games are going to work on the Switch 2, but not vice versa. And even though that's the same for PS4 and PS5, it is a bit telling because Nintendo is very good with this type of thing. When they say something, you kind of take it a bit literally. And I feel like, yeah, they're not going to be making a Switch 1 version of Mario Kart 9 or whatever they're going to call it, right? I feel like it's just going to be a Switch 2 game, which makes sense because obviously the technology is going to be better in the Switch 2. Switch 1 is like a 10-year-old console at this point. So, it'd be crazy to keep that going at the same pace and have the same games. So, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, PlayStation is planning to drop PS4 games next year in January from its PlayStation Plus catalog or new games coming to the catalog. Speaking of PlayStation Plus, we might as well just go over this now. The games for PlayStation Plus Essentials, which you can start the download on February 4th, are Payday 3 with just a PS5 version, High on Life, PS4 and PS5, and Pac-Man World Repack on both PS4 and PS5. Payday 3 sucks. No wonder it's being released for free on here because it was bad. Callus, Greedy, and I played it last year. It was bad. High on Life is a decent first-person like boomer shooter. It stars Justin Roiland, who has obviously had a bit of controversy. If you don't like his comedy style, then you're probably not going to like this game. But at least you can try it out, see if you like it, I guess. And then Pac-Man World Repack is a remaster or remake of an old game, and I haven't played it myself yet. I do have it physically in my collection, but it looks good. I mean, obviously it's a 3D platformer with Pac-Man. What could possibly go wrong? And finally, for the news today, Capcom's first showcase of 2025 is airing next week. So on February 4th, which is actually this week technically, you can check that out. It'll be about a 20-minute show, and immediately after that, there's going to be a 15-minute Monster Hunter Wilds showcase. So in total, it's going to be about a 35-minute long presentation. Capcom fans can look forward to on Onimusha Way of the Sword, Street Fighter 6, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics to be shown off. Maybe a special surprise as well, maybe mixed in there. Producer Ryozo Tsushimoto said, bringing you back-to-back info about all that's coming from Capcom. First, get the scoop of upcoming games from Capcom Spotlight, then tune into the Monster Hunter Wilds showcase for all the latest info. Both events have subtitles available in 13 languages. So, we'll see if they announce anything for... we'll see if they announce anything new in general. It would also be interesting to see if they announce anything coming to the Switch 2, like maybe they're going to bring over the Marvel Capcom Fighting Collection, or maybe even Monster Hunter Wilds. Maybe they'll announce that, like, yeah, we're getting this thing to run on the Switch too. I guess we'll have to wait and see. As of right now, though, seems like a pretty promising event. And like I said, that's on February 4th. What time, though? This article does not show a time, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be around like 10 o'clock here, like 10 a.m. here. We'll see. All right, let's move on to what's coming soon. The biggest news from the coming soon section is that Forza Horizon 5 is officially going to launch on the PS5 later this year. Most likely in spring, they said. This will be the most up-to-date version of the base game, and it will not include all of its DLC packs. But they will be able to buy separately day one. The port is being done by Panic Button, who also is pretty. They were the ones who ported over the Xbox games to Switch, so they should have a lot of talent there. They are also working with the regular developer Playground Games. No new trailer has been published for this, but they did announce it on Forza.net, saying, "We are excited to see the Forza Horizon 5 community grow with new players on the PS5, and we can't wait to see the creativity and skill those new creators, builders, and racers will bring to our vibrant community. There will be cross-play between PS5, Xbox, and PC, and a new content update named Horizon Realms will also come to the PS5 version on the same day as the other consoles." In a press release, they said Realms will give players a chance to explore a curated collection of some of the community's favorite previously released evolving worlds, alongside some other surprises. So it seems like it's a culmination of everything they've done in the past. We already know that Doom: The Dark Ages is coming to PS5 and The Outer Worlds 2. And it seems like there's a lot of rumors circulating right now, but it seems like Halo: The Master Chief Collection, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and the unannounced Gears of War Trilogy Collection will also be coming to PlayStation 5 in the future. We'll have to wait and see for those. Right now, those are just kind of rumors, strong rumors, but rumors indeed. If there's a physical version of Forza Horizon 5, I might pick that up because I really enjoyed that game. I never finished it. Maybe I'll load it up on the Xbox Game Pass and play it again. I was really enjoying that game. It had a lot of cool cars in it. It had a lot of fun courses to race on. And it had also a nice social aspect to it as well. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, it is on Xbox Game Pass because it's an Xbox-owned game. But it is coming to PS5, which I'm sure there's a lot of people who are kind of surprised. I mean, I was kind of expecting if they were going to bring a Forza game over, I thought it was going to be like the next one in the series, but here we are, Forza Horizon 5 coming to the PlayStation 5. It makes sense, I guess. All right, Killing Floor 3 has a release date now. In the most recent trailer, they showed off that the game is going to be coming to consoles on March 25th, 2025. Of course, it's also becoming the PC, Steam, etc., etc. So, that's no problem there. But if you don't know what Killing Floor is, it's a horde-based survival mode where you can team up with 3 other people to fight waves of crazy mutated enemies, and then also there's some like mini bosses and a main boss in there as well. The games usually have a narrative campaign attached to it, so each wave defense map is like its own contained story. But here is what they said about the third game. It's 2091, and Megacorp Horizon has produced the Ultimate Army, an obedient horde of bioengineered monsters called Zeds. Now join the rebel group Nightfall in this co-op action horror FPS that puts you and your teammates in the battle for the future of humanity. So, seems like that's going to be pretty cool. That's coming March 25th. And they already announced that the base edition of the game is going to be $40. So a very fair price point for this game, especially if it has the same content as Killing Floor 2, which I also very much enjoyed. So if you want to check that out, that'll be coming soon. There's also some trailers on Tripwire Interactive's YouTube channel. The Sims are back. Classic Sims games are back on Steam, and I believe GOG also has them as well. They released The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 on both platforms, and you can buy them now. This is for the 25th anniversary of The Sims, and these are updated new versions of the game to run on Steam's hardware and modern PCs and stuff like that. There is no sign of a console version of these games coming around. There was a lot of like weird PS2 and GameCube spin-offs. Like I remember The Sims, Urban Sims or whatever it was called. Urbs, was that it? It was one of those weird like spin-off games. Obviously they released the like Sims like Cozy collection. Like there's 2 Sims games that released on the Switch, right? Which I don't think they sold very well, but they were also spin-offs for like the Wii version of the game. So we'll see if they bring over any of the other kookier, crazier Sims games. But yeah, you can buy the Sims 2 Legacy Collection for $20. And you can also buy the Sims Legacy Collection for $20. So both of them are $20. And you can also buy them for $40 if you bundle them both together. So it's like $10 off, which is nice. And these versions of the games include all the expansion packs, which is very nice indeed. So if you want to check that out, those are available right now on Steam and I believe GOG as well. Maybe this trailer shows at the end here. It just says available for Windows 10 and 11. So I'm guessing GOG probably got them too. All right, so the Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection showed off some more information about the game. Once again, it's going to include 14 total games. I already went through them all before. But Duel Monsters 4 Battle of the Great Duelists will have an online mode, allowing you to actually battle against your friends or random people online in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. So this will be, I believe, additional titles will support online play after release, is what Konami said. But they're just going to start off with the Battle of the Great Duelists here, but Duel Monsters 4 for the time being. Apart from that, you'll also be able to unlock hidden characters, cards, and more in each of the games, or some of the games. And to top it off, players will get to rewind, fast forward, and reset duels if you need to. You'll also be able to explore additional box art, manuals, and other things in the digital gallery. So, yeah, I mean, very, very cool there. I found out that the game that I played was Dark Duel Stories back when I was a kid. That was the one that I played. I was watching the trailer, and I was like, oh, God, that is bringing back memories of Mako Tsunami with the Fortress Whale behind him. And then, like, the way that they were battling, I very much was like, oh, that's right. That's the one that I played. I'm very excited to play all these games. It looks like most of them have English translations. One game from this collection seems to be still in Japanese. But all the other ones, I'm seeing English text and stuff like that. So it looks like they really did improve, or at least make sure that most people can play all the games in the collection. So that's really cool. And that still is coming around on February 27th. So about a month away. I'm very excited for that. As you know, let's go. Come on. All right, Civilization 7 showed off its roadmap for its 2025 content. In February, early access is going to start on February 6th with the global launch on February 11th. In March, there will be a Crossroads of the New World update along with a new leader, Ada Lovelace, new civilizations, Carthage and Great Britain, and 4 new natural wonders added to the game. In another DLC, Crossroads of the World, releasing, I guess there's 2 releases, so there's release 1 and then release 2, which is late March. I don't know why they're doing that. You get a new leader named Simon Bolivar, the new civilizations, Bulgaria and Nepal. There will be some free content as well, including a new natural wonder battle, and the Bermuda Triangle will be added for free in March. And in late March, the Marvelous Mountains event will happen, along with Mount Everest being added as a new natural wonder. I don't know why this stuff isn't in the game already. It's releasing like 2 months after the game releases, but whatever. In April through September, they're going to release another DLC called Right to Rule. It'll include 2 new leaders, 4 new civs, and 4 new world wonders. There will be more free updates as well after that. And then, obviously, there'll be more to come later in the year, but that's all we know right now. I am interested in playing Civilization 7. It's a lot of money. It's $70 even on the Steam version. And it's a bit pricey, I will say. It's a bit pricey. All right, Warside, which I talked about, I don't know, probably a couple months ago at this point. It has been delayed. It was originally supposed to release on January 28th, and now it's being delayed until the second quarter of 2025. In a post, they said, we wanted some extra time to add in all the quality of life features players were asking for from the demo. We finished that now, but we still need some time to to go through the platform certification on Switch before we can release. So if you don't know what Warside is, it's pretty much Advanced Wars, but modern. Obviously, it uses a bit of a different art style for the characters and a bit of a different pixel style for the battles and stuff like that. But it is essentially the same thing where you tactically move your units around and use enemy weaknesses to your advantage, capture command points, and purchase new units as you go. Looks very fun. I am interested in trying this out, but yeah, it's going to come the second quarter of 2025, so probably in summer. Harvest Moon is releasing a new Switch bundle called the Cozy Bundle. It has 2 3DS titles in it. One of them is called Harvest Moon Sky Tree Village, and the other one is Harvest Moon The Lost Village. Both the games will be available in summer of 2025 as a bundle, which will probably be sold for about $60. The Lost Valley originally came out in 2014, and Sky Tree Village came out in 2016. Hiro Maekawa, who is the CEO of the company, said, Natsume's Cozy Bundle introduces fan favorites to modern consoles. Players are sure to feel nostalgic as they revisit towns, characters, and animals, while new players now have a chance to experience titles from the past optimized for current generation consoles. So yeah, looks like if you're a Harvest Moon fan, I think these ones are relatively good from what I remember hearing. But yeah, if you want to check that out, that'll be available in summer of 2025. And finally for today, Nintendo has added Ridge Racer 64 to its Nintendo Online service and expansion pack service. The Ridge Racer series has a soft spot in my heart, of course. This game was originally released in 2000, and now they're bringing it back for the Switch Online service. You'll be able to download this on the 14th of February, which is the 25th anniversary of Ridge Racer 64. So that's very cool. That's very cool indeed. I believe this is a E for Everyone game, so you can obviously if you have kids, you can play it with them. But yeah, very cool addition. Ridge Racer, known for its arcade racing and really grooving music. Also, usually some really good map design in there as well. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to What's That Song? This is the part of the podcast where you try and guess the song name and the game that it came from. And if you know those two things, I will either give you a heart and a congratulations in the YouTube comments, or if you go over to the Discord link down in the description below and comment in the Fair64 section, I'll give you a super reaction and you'll get the admiration of your peers. Let's listen to today's song right now. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Fair64 podcast. Really do appreciate that. If you want to check out anything else that I do, it's either on Twitch or other social media sites at Yemmy the Ferret. On Twitch, we stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. We're playing through Red Dead Redemption 2 and Pokemon Sword right now. My other podcast is called Film Freaks with a Z at the end, where I talk with my friends about movies. Latest episode is about X-Men. The next episode is going to be about The Mummy from 1999. Anything else, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitter, YouTube, etc. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I will talk at you next week. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. So long.
The Ferret64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Fair64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.